What's happening? It's state weekend, state championship weekend, and we are here. I don't know which one you've watched or if this is the only one you've watched, but this is our fourth classification preview, and
But you're
we are
getting ready to
doing
watch the best one.
Yes, this
the
is the
best
best.
one.
Whichever one you watch is the best.
It's time for the ladies. I'm here with Brant.
And none of them were
Jason.
as uncomfortable as that moment right there.
Yeah. Well, with that being said,
We don't know Dan.
let's go do it.
Oh, and a few notes to start off for people who haven't seen the other previews. We have all been working around the clock on our various projects. Jason is putting together his fans guide, which is just a combination media guide slash get to know everybody in the field. It's fantastic. It is in depth. It is more than anything I could ever produce. I'm in the middle of picking champs and putting together my preview predictions. And Dan is up to 70 missed messages, 30 missed calls, 100 missed WhatsApps, something. He's putting
Oh,
together all of your punch tickets. So we have been going around the clock really for a couple of weeks now on all the things. But Dan has not looked at the brackets yet. And
so
so
this is awesome.
while the brackets went live right at 12 o'clock on Sunday, I opened them at 12:01 and started looking at them. Jason has been working on the brackets since noon or our time on Sunday. When you see Dan look at the brackets here, this is the first time he has seen the
And
brackets. So
yeah,
it's
and what's awesome about girls is that there's only one
only one
classification. So
classification. He
everybody's in here. It's
Everybody's in
pretty
there, and you
awesome.
guys get to see the reaction just as we do. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, make
Yeah.
sure you get Jason's fan guide when it comes out too.
And with that being said, we pull up 100 and
we
the first the first round matches are all amazing.
The first round matches are really good. 100 is a great weight. I think there are 8 returning either placers or qualifiers from a year ago. You start off
Yeah.
with Sayuri Caceres up top. She is one of the region champs. Hannah Nail Gregory down at Freedom is a region champ who has looked outstanding. Am I
Mm-hmm.
right, Dan? Um, Kiara,
Outstanding.
Port- Kiara Portello is your region champ down at the bottom side with Rosie Klein. And as you look through this, I think Portello is probably, if you look where based on like past results and past state results and everything else, she's probably your favorite. But she sits in a bracket or in a quarter of the bracket with Emerson Weber, Lily Bradshaw, and Lydia Gonzalez. And I'm telling you what, South Dade might have something to say about what happens on the ladies' team
But
race as
I
we go
feel
through
like the
this.
match to watch there, and Anaya went,
Hmm.
unfortunate injury happened during the finals against Grigori. It was towards the end there. I saw her this weekend. She seems like she's gotten through it okay. But that matchup right there in the bottom quadrant with Anaya Wayne and Juliana Mills right off the rip, that's a hell of a
Yeah.
matchup right there.
And that other quad has 3 versus 6 with Doolittle and Klein. Listen,
Hmm.
when this bracket came out, I can tell you who the happiest person on the planet was, and that was Yuri Caceres, who I have ranked seventh. But everyone she's lost to is on the bottom half of this bracket. She's had trouble with Emily Doolittle this year. She's lost to Wayne this year. She's beaten Bowie. She teched Bowie. She's got a win over Jawolski of Newsom. She's pinned her. Uh, I have her making the finals just because it's so crazy because oftentimes things are pretty set. You're one, two, three. You go down the line. She's better than some above her, and those girls just happen to show up on her side. Everything can change, but for her to not be on the same size as Doolittle, to not have to worry about other people who have beaten her, um, it's pretty fantastic. And last year in the third place match, she and Portello were wrestling. It was 2-2 in that match when Portello had to abandon the match for an injury default. Uh, so I think this bracket is crazy and is going to be all messed up when it's
The
all said and done.
bottom part of the bracket is just absolutely
Yep.
loaded. And whoever comes out of that bottom half, they earned every minute.
And whoever loses the Doolittle Klein opening match will face the loser of Caceres and Bowie. One of those four will not be on the podium when the weekend is done.
Well, and I mean, and you're right about Caceres, but I mean, Gregory's
She's
she's
tough,
tough
but
up
you know what?
top.
Jaworski has beaten her 8-6, and they match up in the quarterfinals.
Oh, is that right? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
So I mean,
Oh, there you go.
there's some transitive being used here, and then others is not. But
Oh yeah.
that
I
the
mean,
thing with
listen.
100 pounds is, and especially honestly, since the moment that Paola Perez couldn't go because of injury, it
Right.
opened things up. I think Partello is still the kind of favorite in here. Um, yeah, her main losses were to
I
Perez.
mean, I'll tell you what. If this bracket gets the Gregory that I watched, or Grigori that I watched at the region, she's going to be tough to
Grigori,
beat.
yeah, probably
I mean,
Grigori.
the way she wrestled in the regions and the bracket she had to go through was tough. Um, she looked really good, but yeah,
Yeah, this one can
noted.
end up anyway, lots of ways.
Let's move to 105, and sitting up top is your returning state runner-up Camden Elliott, who's 30-1 on the year. Her only loss is to Jocelyn Johnson,
Yes.
returning state champion in the knockout final. Johnson happens to be on the bottom side in the third quarter of the bracket. Sharing the top side with Elliott is Skylar Randolph, another region champ. Mayeli Ortiz Martinez is benefited by winning her region as she gets the defending state champion in her quarter of the bracket with Jocelyn Johnson. You got Aaron Rizzuto, who was second a year ago at this weight in the bottom quarter of the bracket with Tiffany Francisco of Western. So this weight is fun.
Yeah,
It
And interesting.
look, there's a
and
lot of good wrestlers all the way through. Elliott sitting opposite of Johnson and Rizzuto is big.
yeah.
Yes,
I mean,
and
the
let's
match that go
go
ahead.
on.
I mean, the
Um,
match that sticks out to me is that second match with Maya Lee and Johnson. I saw Maya Lee beat Johnson in freestyle at the beginning of the year. I know it freestyle is different than folk style. I'd like to see how that turns out in folk style. I think they're both very tough, and I'm interested in that second match right there.
this is a three-person race. I know it might upset some people with that. Elliott, Johnson, and Rizzuto. They were all state finalists last year. Elliott's been a state finalist the past 2 years. Rizzuto's a three-time state placer. She's placed third, and second. She should have beaten Johnson at the knockout in the semifinals. She
She
was up
did beat her.
late. Well, that's what I'm saying, but she
Yeah.
didn't. Johnson got a point at the end, tied up one in sudden victory. A stunned Rizzuto that just didn't react in the sudden victory. She had celebrated her win, but then she goes into regions and she beats Johnson. Uh,
Mhm.
she has lost to Elliott this year. Johnson and Elliott have gone back and forth with each other.
Mhm.
Johnson getting the win at the knockouts, the most significant one. Um, just the fact that we're going to see Rizzuto and Johnson possibly in the semis with a chance to go against Elliott in the final. These are the three I've been watching all this year. I know there's Skylar Randolph is very tough. I know Maya Lee is a good wrestler. She's a very good freestyle wrestler. If this was freestyle, I'd have a whole different bracket. But that semifinal match between Johnson and Rizzuto is going to be the thing to watch here because they've both proven um, that they can get it done. Listen, Rizzuto is a great kid. I've enjoyed chatting with her. She battled back the third one of her years after losing in the first round match, won all the rest of her matches to get there. So she's been tested on in the hardest level and done it. Uh, so can she do it again against Jocelyn? Would be the question. And then what happens when she faces Elliott?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, and you have a 16-1 Tiffany Francisco sitting there at the bottom going, "Hey, what about me?"
I
Yeah.
mean,
You know,
the problem there
records.
is that we haven't seen it. She hasn't wrestled anyone. Her most notable win is against Gabriella Kerber, who finished second in the region. So it's tough to when they kind of that South Florida contingent. There's not a lot that leave South Florida, so it's hard sometimes to compare. She has a great record. She certainly can shock some people here, but we don't know much about where she actually stands in the whole
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I think I agree with you. And I do think just because I've seen her wrestle a lot, the one girl that could mess up that party would be Maya Lee if she's locked in and wrestles to her ability.
I want to
So
see
yeah,
him open 110.
Is
well,
he not open
110,
110?
and in my opinion, 110 has been the freaking
But I
weight
want you to
class all
just look at
year.
110. Look at 110.
So
See if you see.
as he's looking at 110, I'm going to go ahead and start off
Oh,
with, yeah,
that's
it is an
terrible.
awe. That is terrible.
That's
Um,
terrible.
and that, for anyone who actually loves the sport,
That's terrible.
That should be the final.
that should be the final.
No,
Look,
with all respect to
the
Kiki
Kiki
and
Bush
Natalia
and
and Kendall and Zoe,
Zoe McDonald and
Mariah and
all those
Abigail
at
should
the
be the final.
bottom, absolutely. Mariah Mills and Abigail Gonzalez was an absolute instant classic in the knockout finals.
Absolutely.
And we knew it was going to be probably it could have been a state final again this year. It is most likely going to be I can't imagine either one of them losing before they get to the semifinals. If you are in the stands and there's semifinals going on, that's a semifinal you have to
Yeah,
watch.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I remember a coach looking at me saying, "That's the best girls' match I've ever seen in this state in this building ever."
Yeah, it was great.
Just remember, Abigail last year gave Gabby everything in
Gabby
that state
Tedesco,
final. Who
no
who
doubt.
Tedesco is killing it at the
Now,
next level.
number two in the
Abigail
country.
gave her everything in that final last year.
Listen, Mariah Mills went into that saying, I was speaking to her. She knew people were picking against her. She was very motivated for that match, and she went into it. And the one thing that Mariah Mills has is a gas tank, and that
Yes,
girl's going to wrestle you for
and that was the
6 minutes,
difference at
10
the
minutes,
knockout.
20
It
minutes.
was.
So I
So
know Abigail's on a mission. He's going to have
at,
to get past that.
as we look to the bottom side of the bracket,
Yeah.
because there will be somebody who emerges, and you've
Yes.
got Kiki Bush, you got Natalia, and I can't say Chokaganza, and
Shakoganza.
Shokaganza. So Natalia, she is actually one of the 20 wrestlers who is qualified for every single state tournament,
Yep.
official state tournament in the state of Florida. She has been on the podium. She's definitely one to watch. Kendall Haney, who we watched at the knockout, wrestled extremely well. You got Zoe McDonald. Someone emerges from the bottom side to try to take on the winner of Mills Gonzalez.
Yeah, Cannabush
Listen,
has a sudden victory and a 1-0 win over Natalia. That should make for a fun quarterfinal. Kendall had pinned Zoe when they met each other this season, and I believe Bush and I know Haney has beaten Bush. I don't know if she got the win back on her or not. But when they did meet this year at the knockout, Haney beat Kiki 9-5 also. So
she
kind
is
of
a young
a
lady.
circle of victories there, and to the point where I know that I think it was you, Dan. It was like, oh, this Kendall girl is amazing.
Keep
She's
an eye on her. Keep an eye
yeah,
on her. She's young. Well, she's also she is still learning how to control a match. She's
yeah.
still she's still all go. So she's still learning when to you know when to hold them and when to fold them, right? Um, but she's a girl that as tough as Mariah Mills and Abigail Gonzalez and Kiana Bush and all these girls are, she is a young lady that could shock people. If somebody were to mess up the cart, she is someone that can do it. But listen, we've seen Kiana Bush. She made the move for a reason. The drill partners she has in the room have gotten her better. Her first tournament really was coming out and having to face Haney and Mills and all that firepower at the knockout. She has the ability to beat anybody at any given time. It's just a matter of will she?
And congrats to Mills on going to West Liberty, which is where my dad went to college
Oh,
in
in
the
West Virginia.
hills of West Virginia.
All right. As we move to 115, up top we have Grace
Our first big
Wyszynski.
favorite,
Yeah. Returning
right?
state runner-up. She does share the top side of the bracket with Beyonce Espinoza, who is tough from South Dade.
Who she's beaten
Bottom
3-1 at the knockout.
bottom side of the bracket has Emma Bachnight, and is it Kaja? Do you know?
Kaja Williams. I don't know if I
Kaja
would
Williams.
outside of Kaya or Kaja Williams.
Okay. But you know what? Again, another bracket that if you have paid attention to girls wrestling in the state of Florida, there are names throughout this. this bracket. Cameron Lord, who is a 4, Jaslyn Diaz, who's a number 4. I mean, there aren't easy matches. You've got Caitlin Kenny, Haley Motor, Mackenzie Alcroft. Um, I don't know if you know this, but Sigrun Metzger from Crestview, I believe it's Crestview,
Hmm.
is one of the
One of the
20
four.
young ladies
There's a lot of them
who,
in this that are.
yeah,
Motor's been at 4
97 and 14, her record
it's
says.
her career record.
career record.
It's her
Wow.
career
They
record.
didn't update it
That's all.
correctly.
I was like, damn, she had a hell of a year.
But Lashinsky she has shown I mean, that she is
She's the
definitely the person to beat.
state finalist last year. She's off the Lindsey Wilson. I talked to her coaches at Knockout. The only reason she came to Knockout is because as they said, we know we can beat everybody else in this weight class. We wanted to see one person. That person was Beyonce Espinoza. She won in the final there 3-1. She controlled the match. We talked about controlling the matches. That is what she was able to do in that. Maybe not an emphatic win, but one where I left thinking, yeah, she's the solid favorite in this weight class. Talent in this weight class. I mean, all the names
It's
you just mentioned.
unbelievable.
There's so
Yeah.
many great wrestlers here, and yet she still has found herself a notch up. She took the state final appearance last year and just really grew from it. I remember watching her way back in November when the whole season started at Flagler and just being just wowed by just how much better she was, and she's just kind of building out. We haven't seen much of her since Knockout. She's just kind of getting ready.
No, we haven't. Right.
Just kind of getting ready for the finals, or for the state final, and she's there and ready to go. She has she's pinned Bach Knight twice. I don't believe she has wrestled Kenny from Vieira, who would be her quarterfinal opponent. So no easy ride. She could end up playing it. According to my bracket, she could end up facing number 2, number 3, number 4 on her way there. So certainly not an easy path, but to me, she's the one to beat there.
Yeah.
She is, yeah, definitely. I saw her this weekend. She was over at Lake Mary rooting on the boys, and talked to her a little bit. She's definitely focused and ready, and what a great young lady to talk to.
Yeah, she's fun.
And the other one, like you said, Emma Bachknight, she's somebody that's on the bottom half there. She is somebody that's very good and definitely good enough
She's
to
been
make
on the
the run.
podium all over the place.
5,
So,
7,
Yeah.
and 3. She could add a 1 or
Yeah.
2 this year.
Yeah, I think that she definitely has the bracket to where she can get to the finals there. So we'll see. All these girls are tough, man. Florida
all
girls.
right.
I believe another big favorite in this one.
We move to 120 pounds, where we are up top. We have our region champs, Trinity Wanamaker and Iona Ross, who is a returning state champ from Charlotte. Bottom side of the bracket, Isabel Alvarez from Vieira and Willow White, who is unbeaten, knockout champion, returning state placer, and probably the favorite in the weight. I'll tell you what, though. Again, you look at the 2-3 matches all the way through this. There are some talented 2s and 3s in the group. For me, the match that stands out is Ariana Ruiz and Jasmine Serrano.
Yes.
Both have been here this is their 4th time, I think, both of them.
Yes.
Even though Ruiz is only a freshman. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about Willow White and the top side of the bracket.
I mean,
The
as
bottom side.
we were at the knockout. We saw Willow White, and she was, for Florida wrestlers, I think she was one of the most impressive ones that I watched that weekend. She's just on another level. She finished 8th last year. To be fair, she was injured, so she kind of injury wrestled and then medical forfeited and ended up in 8th. But just like her brother Willie at South, they just blossomed this year. The bracket is interesting because we do have Ross, who was a state champ last year, has had
beat
some
Lashinsky,
losses.
I think.
Yeah, but this year has struggled with some losses. She's lost to Serrano, she's lost to Ruiz, she has 2 losses to Delgado, she's lost to White, all good losses, if you will. But then the person to kind of watch, Zoe Delgado.
I was just going to say it
the name should sound familiar because her sister
was pretty good.
was pretty good, is still pretty good. And listen, she has closed the gap, if you will, during the season against White. She was pinned and she lost by a major in the district final. She was 5-4 in the region final, 13-8. I don't know that she could end up pulling it off. But she at least has wrestled White enough times to have an idea what to expect.
Yeah.
And listen, this bracket, according to my rankings, 5 in the top 7, 6 in the top 9 are in the top half of this bracket. So there's no even saying that Delgado will get there because it is just stacked up top.
Hmm.
But she is the person for me to watch just because we've seen the inroads she's made and chipping away at White's advantage over her.
And just the strength she's put on has been great. And yeah, I mean, I think whoever comes out, I think that quarterfinal matchup will be great, whether it's Ross or Serrano versus Delgado. I think Delgado gets there. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I think that watching Delgado this year has been the growth, and she has been closing the gap. I think, yeah, everybody is going to say Willow White looks like it's hers to win, to win, I guess, right?
Yeah, that's
Well, right.
fine.
I mean, based upon past performance, I mean, it
Yep.
sure seems like that would be the case. All right, let's move to
Look
125
at 20.
pounds.
Look at 25, Dan. Tell me what you see.
Woo!
That sucks too. I hate that they do that.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
it's
right.
great. It's great for the people up top.
So for those wondering, Milana Borelli, two-time state champ in Florida, both times she's wrestled here. Rachel Silva, three-time or now four-time state qualifier, two-time state placer, two region champs, two undefeateds. They're on the same side of the bracket. Paul Ramirez of Bassiola and Kiana Gavier of Pace on the other side, another undefeated wrestler there. But well, I'm probably the same way that you guys both looked at this bracket. The first thing I looked for, really, on all the girl state was where these two were matched up, and I don't even know if Borelli knows there's a rivalry there yet. But Silva
She knows.
certainly believes it's a rivalry. You shared the video of her saying that she didn't think much of the girls in her weight class, and there was only one she was worried about, and didn't think much of her. And now they'll match in the semifinal.
I didn't share it. Florida Insight shared the
You
interview.
shared it with me is
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't share. I
I
shared with you
don't
guys, and
you
I was
shared it
like,
with
wow,
me
look,
is
look
how
at
I
the
saw it.
moxie that Rachel
Yeah.
Silva has. I mean, listen, when you talk to his coach, and I talked to her coach after I saw that video, I called her coach, and he was like, look, as her coach, I like the confidence. Um, look, Milana Borelli to me and to most, I think her and Maya Bethel are probably the pound for pound
Yeah.
best in our state. Um,
Iron
Leos.
Man champ this year. We've not
so
seen much of Milana. She doesn't
so if
compete much through the state, but she
she,
is the Iron Man champ this year.
and I saw her at a college open that I
Yeah.
believe she won that college open. She wrestled starters at colleges on a very high level, and she won. So yes, now they say Rachel Silva has a top game that's tough, and we'll see. We'll see. I mean, listen, they got to wrestle. I
Yep.
mean, they got to win. Camille Rice is no walkover right there in the first round for Rachel. She's going to be tough, and I think everybody else. But yeah, that's a
I mean,
matchup that I want to see.
she has pinned Rice this season. I guess that's the only one that she has faced already that stand in her way of that semifinal.
Well, and I think we should take a look just real quick at the top
Yeah,
side.
absolutely.
You do have
Yeah,
two state placers who are who are your region champs.
with
Kiana
Paula.
Gavir and Paolo Ramirez are both returning state placers. Gavir, if you remember, her I think it was her older
Her older
sister,
sister is the state
kind of
champ.
surprised everybody
Yep.
when she came down from Minnesota, I think it was,
Yeah, yeah, that's
um,
where they
and
came.
beat Bibla in the finals that year because we didn't actually know a whole lot
Yeah,
about her. Um, but good wrestlers up top. I think
I
those
mean, the
two are
other
probably
one to
the two
watch
to
up there
watch.
too is Kaylee Rodriguez,
Kaylee Rodriguez,
freshman
yeah,
for Brandon, kind of doing her own thing over there, only girl on the team. Um, 37 and
absolutely.
3, and has really picked up some good wins. Her only losses are to um, girls at different weights than here. Oh no, she has lost to Espinal, but I mean,
Espinal.
she's someone to watch up in that top half too.
Yeah, and Paula Ramirez brings it every time she's on the mat, and she's somebody that is going to bring it there too. And I could see her coming through the bracket,
All right,
the top
let's
side.
skip to 130 pounds. You have the return of state champion Christina Borgman, who sits on line number one, unbeaten and an
Untouched.
absolute hammer.
Yeah.
Um, she shares the top side of the bracket with Sophie Simons. Kelly Vinson from Harmony and Isis Severe are your region champs on the bottom side. There's some really good wrestlers. I will actually go ahead and throw out Lahela Turnquest, who I think was a state runner-up last year, who ended up obviously in the same region as Borgman, so she didn't win the region. But the bottom side of the bracket is going to be a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean that's the first thing you look at when you look at this is who's winning it most likely. Borgman pinned Turnquist in the second period of their region semifinal match.
Right.
It was 6-6 though when it happened. So Turnquist was able to put a little pressure on her in that one. But yeah, at the bottom you have her. You have Isis Severe, who's done the amazing thing of beating Isis Estes Brinson, Miami Palmetto. I think they wrestled 4 or 5 times now, and she's won all of them by decision. Uh, just shows the
Wow.
consistency that she has in that. And then also Kylie Vinson, who proved me wrong, and came from nowhere to win the region title, and she's in the bottom there. So that creates, I think, some fun on the bottom half, and then there's enough top wrestlers at the top that should create some interesting consolations too in Borgman's waist.
Yeah, I agree.
And Borgman's waist.
Right.
You,
Well, I
you
mean,
you beat someone, you leave them behind, and that's the waste of the boat, right? Well, listen, Borgman is to me, she's on a level of Bethel as far as a favorite this weekend. She's amazing wrestler. She's got a great head on her shoulders. She's well coached. She is completely dedicated to being successful out there. And I just don't see anyone being able to touch her.
all right. So let's move to 135 pounds. Top line is Kailiani Barrientos, Fargo All-American returning state placer from Oakley. You got Emma Hoppy, I believe,
I believe.
who is a returning state runner-up from
Yes.
Vieira, who lost to Ailey Briggs. Ailey Briggs. She's told me how to say her name at Knockout. Now I've slaughtered it. Um, you got Bailey Beecher as a region champ on the bottom side, and Ariana Garcia, also a region champ on the bottom side. Anna Villar is sitting in there. Obviously, did not win Region One with Barrientos in the
Yep.
bracket, but some other good wrestlers throughout this
Yeah.
bracket.
And look at that. Anna Villar, Ariana Garcia quarterfinal would be
I mean, just
very, very
to be
interesting.
fair, Villar has a 4-0 record against her, but Fuentes is ranked 5 in the rankings you haven't seen yet. Coming out here, a senior who has wrestled really well this season and come on strong in second place in her region. That makes for at least take a look at first round match, even though I would have Villar as a favorite there.
How do you see the top?
Oh boy. I mean, I feel like you have Kaylani and Emma meeting there in the semis. Um,
Yes.
I'm intrigued by like some of the other ones like Sergi and Willis. Those are two veteran wrestlers that have to meet. Sergi's a state placer returning this year. Willis has, I guess she's only been there one year, but she's been around all 4 years. She was blood round her first 2 years down in Region Four. But I think as far as like top level, it's going to be an interesting match. Barrientos, I was late to get her to number one. But I feel she's probably a pretty solid favorite here, and she'll take on either Anna again or Ariana, whoever comes out of that quarterfinal.
I just didn't know if Barrientos and Emma have wrestled this year. That's the reason I asked.
I don't have them having wrestled this year, no. Or no, they have wrestled. Um Hoppe was winning 13-12 when Barrientos left the match with an injury default. So
Okay.
see, I don't
Yeah,
have all my notes on the girls. I'm still working on my bracket. I didn't have that notes, but
yeah,
I have it
no,
in my notes that they
was that at
did.
knockout?
Let's see.
I don't know if Fiera was
It
at
wasn't
knockout.
knock. I don't think it was. It was the Freedom Ring final, or maybe not. I'll have to look and see where that happened.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, moving to 140 pounds, sitting at the top as far as region champs go, Mary Ellen Wingate and Shamari Smith. On the bottom side, Denali Dolphin from Osceola,
Was that
and
Viper Duels was where
Viper
that took
Duels.
place. It was a girls' tournament at Space Coast that kind of flew under the radar there.
And on the bottom line of the bracket at 140 pounds, Ailey Briggs from Lemon Bay, returning state champion. Um, yeah. So I didn't actually see the final. Did she wrestle Juliana Case in the finals of Region
She
3? Do we
did.
know?
She did. So she got her win back in that region after Case won in the district tournament. I think those two are your favorites
I
to
agree.
meet again. I
I
know
bel
it's an intriguing quarterfinal with Shamari Smith waiting there, but Case has beaten her 3 times by fall this season. Wingate is an interesting uh, competition up there too. They have not faced each other according to my records, but I just feel like we're gonna see part 3 of their postseason, um, the rubber match in the final here between the state champ from last year and 2-time state placer from Riverdale.
I thought didn't they face each other at Let Freedom Ring also in the semis?
Who's this?
Case
Eileen and
and
Yeah,
Juliana.
yeah, because Briggs won 14-10.
Yeah, because I remember that match was
It
incredible.
was a crazy match because you came up to me because I got there right at the end of the semis, and you're like, oh,
so
you won't
Briggs leads
believe
2-1.
2-1, 1-1 in the postseason, 2-1 on the season. Um, yeah,
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 yeah.
that was a good match. And listen, there's some girls in here that are tough. Um, but there's some matchups like where did I see? I mean, you got young lady Dadal up top. I can't pronounce Mepa Messina's got Kate right off the bat. There was one that I thought I saw here. Maybe it was the last weight. All right.
45. I'll just
45 is
introduce
fun.
this one because I love this one. Christy
This
Moore
is fun.
is one of your region champs on the bottom with Noella Varela on the top. Tiana Fries, who was state champ back in 22, if I'm not mistaken. Fifth and second
Mhm.
since then. And then Kalaya Delva from Fort Pierce Central, a finalist last year at 155. Um, Dalva does have a major decision win over Freeze for what it's worth going in. Christy Moore
Oh,
has
does she?
had just a monster season. She's pinned Freeze twice, both times. If I remember correctly, she was down when she pinned her.
She was definitely down in the
She's
knockout
definitely down
final.
knockout, but I believe also
She was down by like 10 points in the knockout
when she
final.
pinned her at Let Freedom Ring, she pinned her right in front of me. I believe she was down in that one also, and came back and got the win. And then Freeze has a win over her by fall this season also. That was earlier in the year. So there's kind of an overview there for you. I think it's the 3 of them battling out, but the top half of the bracket certainly has some landmines in it.
Yeah, you got Sariana Jones from Auburndale, who's also there. Down on the bottom side, you got Geraldine Honore, who, from South Dade. And again, I bring up some of the South Dade girls because, again, when we're looking through the bracket, Flagler Palm Coast with Freeze, South Dade with Honore. Um, you've got these are teams, and we talked about it in some of the other previews. When you have a team with you, you know, getting up for that next match. On the front side, everybody's going to be up for their
Right.
match.
It's
But
the
if you
backside.
happen to have a loss and you're on the backside, getting through and being able to fight your way to a spot on that podium is going to be huge. Especially for Freeze, who won it as a freshman.
Yeah.
you know, and has not returned to the top step. I'm not saying she's going to lose. I think she'll actually get to the semifinals where she'll, have the battle there. But, um, you know,
Delva is extremely athletic.
yeah,
One of my favorite
Delva
big watchers
took
to watch.
second at knockout as well, I believe.
Um,
I believe so.
she took second in state last year. She had knockout. She was second there too, and then she
But
beat Freeze at Cradle. But
she
yeah,
was
she
second at
was
knockout at 55,
probably at
wasn't it?
55 would be my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah.
There's some good matchups here. I mean, Delaney Graves and Devotchkin right off the bat down there is two tough young ladies. One's a senior, one's a junior. Um,
And
and
Siriana Jones and Barnes Tumor is
Hmm.
a top 8 matchup in the top half.
You know what's going to be really interesting is as we're talking as we're coming to the end of the girls here is that we've now been able to kind of write previews for the girls, official previews for the state championships, and we've gotten used to these names, several names that kind of continue to they're always here. We've always been kind of gotten familiar with them, and for many of them, they're seniors, and this is their
Yeah.
last go. And it'll be really interesting to see these other names kind of begin to pop up
Yep.
throughout the bracket. We
And
moved to
speaking of
155 pounds.
seniors that we know very well,
Exactly. That was my segue to your best wrestler in the building on the girl side. I
yes,
still think Michael Mako is the best wrestler in the building. Um, your three-time state champion, Maya Bethel, and
undefeated state champion
I
of high school.
remember interviewing her after her freshman state title, and she was plucked off the volleyball court,
Yep.
and I'll tell you what, she is just unbelievably awesome. I want to go ahead and give a shout out to the other region champs, Alexa Caledonio, Mariah Earl from Hernando on the top side, Yadira Rivas on the bottom side with Maya Bethel. Um, Look, we could throw out a lot of accolades about Maya Bethel. She is unbelievably talented and everything else. We don't hand out state titles beforehand, but I don't know. Has she lost? Has she
She's not
lost a
lost
high
in
school
her high school.
match?
She is not in Florida.
yeah,
So
So
well,
during
there
not
you
at the
go.
knockout, not at the knockout I watched either. She not knockout, not at the Fargo championships. I watched her win Fargo, and then the one loss that she had in Fargo last year, she wrestled back and beat that girl for third.
That's
so
right.
here you go. She was 16-0 her first year. Uh, that was the first state title. The next one was 27-0, and then I believe the other one was 38-0. And then this year she is coming into the weekend 16-0. My
Well,
favorite
as
thing
we
about this bracket is
yeah,
is the top half because we've talked about
good.
this on other podcasts. And the first thing I look at when there is a favorite, this big of a favorite, is I'm hoping that you'll get the best second place person in the final with them. And I believe that will be accomplished here. You'll have number 2, Elena Rick. Uh, Caledonia is number 3 on my rankings. Desir number 4. Earl number 6.
Yep.
They will all possibly line up in the quarterfinals with some great quarters with the chance to have a true second place person in the final against Bethel.
To have an
Have an
opportunity
opportunity
to knock off
to
the
to
three-time
beat Shoots.
defending unbeaten state champion in Maya Bethel.
To
And that
see
what a
who
Yeah,
great opportunity it would be. It would be a true, Larry
yes,
Owens knocking off Dan Gable, sort of thing. So
Loudon Swain.
Loudon
yeah.
Swain, yes.
So good luck there.
All right, we moved to
75 is
100.
interesting. Or 70, sorry.
70 is an interesting weight. You start up top with the region champs of Kendall Bibla and Riley Lancaster. Your bottom side is Megan Preston and Quisteria Wilson are your two region champs. Megan Preston is a returning state runner-up. You got Isabella McFarland in the bottom side. She's super tough as well. Kendall Bibla was a state champion 2 years ago
Here, 23, yeah.
because she was
Just
hurt
injured
last year.
last year.
Yeah, that's right.
Megan Preston, a 2-time state finalist
Two
in
times
in her career, 6th place in between there. Bibla, a 2-time state placer after because last year she got hurt in the middle of the tournament. She didn't come in fully healthy, but she has that state title. Those are the two kind of leading the way here. They're on opposite sides of the bracket. Bibla has an interesting bracket with Lancaster and Stinnett, kind
Hmm.
of at the bottom part of their bracket, wrestling each other to the chance to face her in the semifinal. Um, Mia Johnson also there in the quarter, and then on the bottom half you have Isabella McFarland and Wilson, two wrestlers who on their good days are in the mix. I mean, McFarland has wrestled Bibla well at times. She's lost by pin, but she was in at least in a knockout. She was really in that match for a little bit, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
One of their matches was real tight, and Q from Lincoln Park came here last year after placing the year before as an eighth grader and came back last year and did not place. So she's been on a mission to get back onto that podium. So the bottom half, maybe a couple landmines, but I think in the end, Bibla Preston is who we'll see in this final.
I agree.
And then the question you have is,
Who
can
wins that?
Megan Preston overcome it and win one? Man, that would be
That'd
tough
be
as your
tough.
senior to lose in the finals for 3 consecutive years. So, all right, 190
Two
pounds.
weight classes left.
And I'll tell you what, Dan, I want to go ahead and give you guys a shout out because my favorite picture from the girls last year was the picture that one of your photographers got of Serenity Whiting winning in that in her finals up at 235. It was a great picture.
Awesome. Well,
I
and
think
she's
that one
back.
might be Ward. 'Cause I have a good one of another one here, but I
Oh
don't know
yeah,
if we. I
that
don't
was me
know.
for sure.
I have a really good cruise picture from winning last year. I don't. I'd have to check my Serenity one.
But yeah, Serenity Whiting is back, and she's ready. She's ready and poised to make another run.
Three
Yeah,
state champs. Three state
and this is a
champs in
great
here.
weight. This is a great
Yeah.
weight.
Um,
I
Leota,
don't. I
Grace
mean,
Leota,
that's
is
that's. I just think that she's a clear favorite.
two-time state champion. Also, I believe she placed as a freshman in Washington, but I don't have uh, that
I'm
information.
pretty sure
Yeah,
that's correct. Yes.
Whiting, state
and
champ last year at 235. Both of them at different weights last year. Leota won at 70, Whiting won at 235. They've come together here at 190, where Cheyenne Cruz has won the last two state titles at 190. She comes in. She has lost this past weekend to Torina Rushing of Mosley, who is a sophomore who did not wrestle in the region tournament last year because she was winning state medals in weightlifting, and they were the same weekend. This year, they changed the schedule around. She's already placed in the state at lifting, and now she's battling in her first state tournament. And then you have Latoya Silvestre, who has wrestled well and wrestles year on, and she is undefeated, but we've not seen her face any of those four people we've
first of
already
all,
mentioned.
the young lady from Freedom has had a heck of a year,
She
and
has.
she's somebody that can
She
beat him.
she had in the first tournament of the year had Cruz on her back for about a minute 50. Cruz fought it
She's got
off, ended up winning. But she's wrestled Cruz tight. The other two times 5-1 and 3-1. And she's just in that room, going
yeah,
with
with
Claremont every
Claremont.
day just
Yeah.
makes you
Hmm.
better.
Well, and she's got. I mean that opening round match is a tough opening round
It
match.
is. Yeah, with
So
Ani Brown. Um, and I don't think they've met this year, so that should be interesting. And Brown's a state placer from the past 2 years. This weight class, we knew it was going to be good going into it,
Yeah,
and then when you
five
see the
state titles,
bracket,
right?
yeah, it just gets even better. I think with some of the matchups in here, and
yeah,
not an easy ride for Cheyenne. Getting Paisley Murphy in the first round, then having to deal with Silvestre in the second, and then possibly having Whiting in the semis. I mean, no, if she was to repeat for a third time, or at least get to the finals for the third time, that would be uh, one of the hardest routes there. But I think Leota is
Yeah,
pretty much your solid, or pretty much a solid pick here to win it.
I agree.
I agree.
All right, let's do the last one.
235 pounds on the top side. It is Cheyenne Tate from Oviedo and Kanea Moore, who was a state champion 2 years ago, state runner up a year ago from Boca Ciega. Your region champs on the bottom side are Richiva Claremont from Freedom, and Camilla Halabi Bravo.
Halabi Bravo from
Halabi
Southwest.
Bravo,
Okay.
who's down there on the bottom. Um, you know, again, this is another weight that has a lot of really good names throughout. Um, but and I don't know about Cheyenne Tate and Kanea Moore as
Yeah,
far
I
as
don't.
if they've ever kind of met, like seen one
Yeah.
another. I've watched Claremont wrestle now several times and have been very impressed with
Yeah,
her.
and I was going to say too, she seems like the girl to beat. I've seen her wrestle a few times this year, and she has just looked great.
Yeah, she's bounced back. She lost to Jones early in the year, and she came back and beat her in a region final. Uh, just a note on Cheyenne Tate. She was 2 years ago wrestled at 140. It was a state qualifier and placed sixth last year at 170. I believe she was at Haggerty for those 2 years. Mia Jones had a fantastic start to the season. Since then, she's lost to uh, someone didn't even make it this year, Yami Herring of Ocoee. She also has lost in the last couple of weeks to Ileana Johnson of Bell Creek, kind of showing some chinks in the armor. Then Claremont dominated her. She's going to face Kenia Moore in the quarterfinals, possibly, who she did beat twice this year. That should be one of the matches to watch on that first day. But I agree with you guys. Claremont just seems other level and kind of picked it up at knockout and has kind of run with it from there.
Well, and I think the thing with 235, you can have, if you make a mistake, it can be a really bad mistake, and it can end the match pretty darn quickly. And that's one of the things that I've taken away with when watching Claremont is she doesn't put herself in a bad position.
Right.
And by not putting herself in a bad position, she gives herself more opportunities to win. And I think that's probably true with all weights, but it may be just that much more
Yeah.
magnified at 235 or 285. So,
And she is
Yeah,
also a benefit of that room where they have three girls at the start of the year that were starter quality at heavyweight, and obviously one of them is down at 190. The other is just a freshman girl who's they're excited for next year, being able to come in and take the spot there. But so um, she's got partners just all over the place that make her better too.
all right, wrap
I don't
this
have a
up.
team race pick, so I'll let you guys pick it.
I'm not going to do it.
I'm sticking to what I've said all year. I I think Flagler wins because they're going to have a whole bunch of champions, and Freedom has advanced, I think 11 or 12 wrestlers here. I
I
mean,
think they have 11 here. Yeah.
they have really come on. We did not know they'd be this good. They picked up some girls from across the county that have really given them some depth, and they've had a fantastic season. Hernando does not seem to be firing on the same amount of cylinders as we maybe thought from them. They're the defending uh, team champ, but I think for the fourth year, we're going to have
We
a
have fourth different team.
different state champ, and yeah, I just Flagler. I think they have eight that will be here because
think they have
the
eight,
younger
yeah.
Villar lost at the regions, but the rest made it through, and three or four of them are probably state champs. So it's tough to state champs or state finalists, and that's tough to.
Well, but see, and that's where I think that we get robbed a little bit because Mills or Abigail Gonzalez will not be a state finalist, and they're
Yeah.
number two.
Yeah, I mean,
And the
there's
difference
some
between
tough
the
draws.
second place points and
And
third place points,
Yeah.
is a lot.
just saying.
Yeah, and that's for a team race. Yeah, seeing,
But you've got Borgman that's going to win.
which
I guess they don't have as many sure shot champs as I thought because
Bibla should be a
I think
Mills
that's where
Mills
people
wins. Bibla is a champ, probably John. Yeah, 3 to 4 champs, and if that happens, they're the team champs.
Yeah, and I think that's where you hear people come out and say, "Man, can you at least seed the top four? Like can you at
seed
least
the
seed
region champs.
Yeah, because Mills and
Yeah, but
Abigail, those two girls are not
Yeah, but
just
then we may not
flawless-
get the
but then
brackets
you-
until Tuesday.
But yeah,
Yeah.
and then you've got like ones and twos in regions that somehow end up on the same. I mean, the one thing like when you see a 1-2 matchup in the regions, when you get to the next level, they're at least on the other side. And Briggs' case, we have them
They're
one
on the other
too.
side.
They're on
That's
the other
true.
side, guaranteed. Now all of a sudden you maybe start. It's a lot. It's too much to us to get in the end of our fourth podcast that we've recorded today.
That is a true statement. And
Right.
just so everybody, as we get ready to wrap this up, check out the other podcasts. Check out Brand Stuff. Dan, really appreciate you doing Ticket Punch, man. Fans Guides will be out on Tuesday. Brand Stuff will be out on Tuesday. Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm going crazy. But yeah, we'll have it. Anyway, girls, good luck out there. Do your
Mhm.
thing. Listen, there's nothing better than seeing a bracket buster. So be that bracket buster.
Prove me wrong.
Got it.
Peace, guys.
Peace.
Peace.